We are here with Tyler LeClaire, and I want to give a little background here because we're from a similar area. I'm from New Hampshire, Tyler, Massachusetts. Lowell's about 45 minutes from my house. And when I was still actively playing, he is the man I went to train with. I think he is an expert in a lot of different areas. That makes this conversation especially exciting for me because you're a great trainer in person, someone I trust with my own development, someone I gain a lot of inspiration from. But on top of that, I think you're living many trainers' dream because you've opened up your own facility once and then have now expanded again to a second facility. So you're doing a lot of cool things in the basketball space. On top of what we just talked about, you have incredible online resources, social media is popping off. So can't say enough positive things about what you're doing for the space of basketball. I'm a huge fan. So first of all, thank you for being here, and I appreciate what you've done for the basketball community in general.
That's much appreciated. Look forward to this conversation.
Absolutely. So want to get into your story before that first gym. I think people, especially trainers, have this idea. They want to open up their first gym. It's a sexy idea, but it's also daunting. There's a lot of pressure that comes with it, a lot of unknowns. So if you could time travel back and bring us back to what was going on in your life, that story of how you went from training people to then officially opening up your first gym and having that space in Lowell.
Yeah, so I started just like any other trainer, player. You know, I was like, hey, I kind of want to make some money on the side. Let me start training some people. Did it for free at first. I was like, wow, this is actually really fun. I really enjoy this, almost more than playing. And then I just slowly got more and more into it. And then I was like, hey, I can maybe turn this into a business. So I was training in college. I only went to college for 1 year, decided to drop out because I was like, you know what? This is what I really love to do. And I know, hey, like I want to own my own business. I think I can turn this into something. So I decided to drop out, go full time into this. And like you were saying, I think a lot of people think, oh, you know, opening a gym, that's such a sexy idea. Like, I'm just going to open a gym. Like, it's easy. Like, no, it is not. So for the first 2 years before I even was in a position to open a gym, I was training every single day, 7 days a week. Any single person that had legs and arms that could throw a basketball, that could dribble, I'm training them. And oftentimes it was not fun, right? I was training people I didn't want to train with. I was dealing with people that, you know, weren't respectful or didn't appreciate my time, you know, cancellations or people just not caring, you know what I mean? Like doing that for 2 years straight consistently, just saving up money, saving up every single dollar I possibly could, knowing, hey, this is my goal. This is what I want to do. I want to open a gym. It's not going to be easy. I think a lot of people get into training. They start training for a week. They have 5 clients. They're like, hey, I want to go open a gym. That's not, A, it's just not even possible. You don't, A, have the money. B, you don't even have the business to do that. You're going to go approach a landlord where the lease is $5-6 a month, and they're going to laugh at you because you made $500 last month. Like, you need to build up a legitimate business, a legitimate clientele to even be in the position to go and get that gym. So it was a grind for 2 to 3 years, building up my clientele, building up my reputation in the area, building up that cash flow, building up my cash reserves to be in the position to go and get that gym. Now, how I actually did that was during COVID. A lot of the gyms started to shut down. And then when they opened back up, I was where I was training at before. They increased their prices to rent the court like 3-4-fold. And at that point, I was training 30 hours a week. And at that point, I did the calculations. I was like, hey, I can pay for my own gym and spend just as much money every month as I was renting the court. So it just made sense for me to go and get my own gym. You know what I mean? So yeah, I had the startup cost, but I would be paying the same amount of money renting somebody else's gym or having my own gym. So at that point, it just made sense, where I think a lot of people just want the convenience and be able to say that they own a gym just so that they can say that they do, when in reality, it doesn't actually make economic sense. So that was kind of the buildup. First gym was in 2020. It was a grind, years and years and years in the process going to do that, setting myself up, and I was finally able to pull the trigger and get it done.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think it's cool to see all the sacrifices you've made, but also you had a dream, and it took 2 years to build to it. And I think the vast majority of people would just tap out, especially having to go through those hours of training people that maybe were not your ideal clients, trying to figure out all the nuances of the spaces. I know renting gyms can be very difficult. You're having to communicate with people that likely don't understand what you're doing. And there's just so much admin work that comes into it. And so to see the sacrifice you put in, it makes that process super rewarding, but also filters out a lot of people because they don't actually want to put that work in to get the gym. Which could be a good thing, because the people that should be having a gym and that can run it successfully, they need to know that and appreciate that process. Can you give people a feel of your gym in Lowell first? It's a place I've been to quite a few times. I think it's a sweet spot. You have great culture there, but paint us a picture of what the gym looks like, and you step into the door. What's that like for a player or parent?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's in like a little industrial area, so it's in a place where you wouldn't necessarily expect it, which I kind of like. So it's a good location, which is why I picked it right off the highway, mile off the highway, not even. So yeah, you pull in, it's about a 3,500 square foot facility. So we got a little kind of waiting room, and then you step onto the court. It's 2,500 square feet of court, so it's just a half court, NBA line, high school line. And it's just kind of like I don't know why the word dungeon came to mind, but it's like a little development factory, you know what I mean? Like a tucked away place you wouldn't really expect, not like the prettiest, sexiest place where everything's, fancy and high tech stuff. Like it's just, you got your half court, you got what you need, and then it's just kind of a factory where we develop players. So
Absolutely.
That's kind of how I look at it.
The environment is really cool. Like you go in there, you're ready to work and you're ready to compete. And I think that is as important as anything else, is you get the feel for the place. And I see your guys, they work hard, they get better, they keep showing up. They clearly love the space you've created. So kudos to you for that. But would love to hear if you recommend it to other coaches. I'm sure you get a ton of messages, social media or wherever, asking about opening up a gym. And what is the answer that you typically give to people?
So I would say for a lot of people, it's not like people who just want to open the gym for like just to run a business. I wouldn't say it's the best business to run. I think your money is better suited somewhere else. But if you're a trainer, I think it's one of the smartest things that you could do, because you're just controlling more parts of the process than just a typical trainer. Like if you're a trainer and you don't own your own gym, you're kind of limited in terms of gym access, hours, all that kind of stuff. So if you can control more of that process, it's just going to help you. And for me, being able to, where I am, being able to rent the gym out, I essentially get a free gym every single month. Like I don't pay for my gym because the court rentals, and when I'm not working, it's still making money. So it's paying for that gym lease and all the expenses that it has. So I essentially get to train for free. As to other people, you're paying $50, $60 an hour. It's very tough to scale to where you want to be. So if you can, like I said, I got to the point where I was paying just as much in court rental fees as I would having my own gym. If you can get to that point, then it's absolutely worth it. But I think a lot of people try to jump the gun and say, hey, like I said, you have 5-6 clients, you're training 5 to 10 hours a week. It's not really worth it. So it's like I would just stay there until you can scale to, hey, 25, 30 hours a week, you're paying out $3,000-$4,000 a month in court rentals. Okay, then it's time to maybe go and get your own gym. But for just the average person who just wants to, make money through basketball, I wouldn't say it's the best business model. But if you're a trainer and you can get to that point, it's 100% a competitive advantage.
Yeah, the side piece of it, of you being able to rent out the gym and then you're not always trading your time for money, I think is underappreciated. Now, you have a really informative YouTube channel, and you go and open up a lot of the information to the public. So I appreciate that. I've loved watching a lot of your videos. Not to put you on the spot, would love a little bit of napkin math, though, of what did the financial piece look like, and what were you basing your projections off of as to like how much money you had, what could you afford, predicting how much money you would bring in, and how has that been accurate or not accurate to what you were thinking before you opened that first gym?
Yeah. So the first gym, I think, so it was 2020. Expenses to open was roughly $50,000. So it's first, less security, insurance. You have the court, that was like $25,000. That's the biggest expense. You have hoops, and you have just a bunch of little miscellaneous things. So the actual startup cost was around $50,000. And at the time, I was making, I think, $8,000 a month for my training, and the lease was $3,100. So I knew, hey, worst case, even if I don't rent the gym at all, which I wasn't planning on really making a lot of money from that, I was like, hey, maybe I can rent the court out here and there. I can make some money off of it. So I was expecting some revenue from that, but I just knew, hey, I'm at this price point. rent's $3,100, maybe other expenses, I'm at $4,000. Okay, I'm making $4,000 profit, but also counting in the opportunity cost. Like, now that I have my own gym, I have unlimited access. I can record more content. This is going to give me a better reputation in terms of professionalism. So I knew, hey, there's more room for growth by me getting this gym. So worst case scenario, I know I'm covered, plus some, and then the opportunity cost of going to get this gym, I know I can grow even more. So that was kind of my thought process behind it. And then I just knew, hey, over the long term, the longer I have the gym, the easier it is for me to pay off that startup and then obviously recoup my investment. So now, obviously, the longer that I'm in it, it's just pure profit because that startup cost is already paid for long ago. You know what I mean? So that was the logic for me. I knew, hey, I have the money. I know that this is going to give me a lot of opportunity costs in terms of also relationships. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I have my own gym. Actually, so this is a story that I kind of give people was when I opened my first gym, Coleman, obviously by any means basketball, he reached out to me. He's like, hey, I want to come and do a clinic. He saw that I opened my own gym. So that started a relationship off of that.
Very cool.
That relationship turned into Mastery Hoops, which is another separate business, which allowed me to get into a lot of other connections and build my reputation following all this other kind of stuff, which led me to this, led me to that. Like, whole bunch of opportunities opened up because of that opportunity. So I think a lot of people in terms of business just look at it, in terms of the numbers, when I think in reality, you also have to look at it in terms of opportunity costs and the opportunities you're going to get from that. So that was the kind of two different parts that I looked at. From a financial sense, it made sense logically. But also I knew from the opportunity cost and everything that's going to come from that is also going to make me a lot of money down the road that you can't necessarily calculate just yet.
For sure. Yeah, I think your relationship with Coleman has been a cool one to watch from afar because you guys were existing on your own and producing a ton of cool ideas for the basketball community, but there was so much in alignment. And then when you guys came together, I think across the basketball world in general, like there was a acknowledgement that what you guys were going to do was pretty special. And I think Mastery Hoops has been a great example of that. I think you guys have set the tone for a lot of younger trainers as well, because you both are young guys, passionate, well-spoken, create great content, and have really successful businesses. And to see people like you guys doing it gives confidence to a lot of other people, myself included, entering the training world and knowing that they can have a successful business, do it online, and just see a lot of profitability across platforms. So shout out to By Any Means Basketball and Coleman there. Hopefully we'll get him on the pod soon as well. Would like to talk about economies of scale a little bit, nerdy term, but you have now opened up your second gym. And so maybe we could time travel to present day and talk about the biggest learnings or differences you've had in opening up that first gym to now the second gym. And if you could give a little bit of background just on the logistics of where the gym is in reference to your first gym and a little bit of that background, that would be great as well.
My first gym's in Lowell, and then my second gym is in Woburn. So they're around 20 minutes apart, but during rush hour traffic, it's like a 45-minute difference between the two. So they're not super far, which makes it beneficial because I have a lot of clientele that's in that area. But during 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock hours, which is prime training time, a lot of people from Boston can't make it all the way up to Lowell. So I knew I had a lot of kind of built up demand in that area that couldn't necessarily come out and train with me. Not only in terms of training, but also in terms of court rentals. Like during the winter, oftentimes the entire day is rented out. And a lot of people are calling, hey, we want to rent out the gym, but I have to turn them away because we just don't have the availability. So I knew there was demand to open up the other gym. It's close enough, but not too far. So that's kind of just a little background on that. Now, in terms of the difference between the first gym and the second gym, the way that I look at it is like a skill stack. So being a trainer is one skill set. And then being a trainer, you have to then have the skill set of running a business. Then you have to get more skill in terms of being a gym owner. Then it's completely different owning two gyms. So it's constantly just building up your skill stack and learning new skills. The difference, I think, between owning one gym and owning two is you can't do everything yourself. So you have to learn how to delegate. You have to know how to trust other people. You have to know how to essentially develop other people and have systems in place, because you can't just be sitting there doing everything yourself, taking every single phone call, like scheduling every single session, and then like micromanaging everything. You have to be able to trust people. You have to be able to find people that you trust, which I was lucky enough to be able to have. And then you have to be able to build systems in place that makes managing it as easy and seamless as possible. So it's kind of just building up new skill sets, and that's in anything that you do. Like as you level up, there's always going to be skills that you don't yet know, and once you can add those skills, that's when you can A, make more money, and B, be more effective.
Can you talk a little bit more about the systems that you've put in place to help you scale, whether that's from scheduling or any systems that you use that have made your job easier? Because we talked earlier about training, especially a year, 2 years before opening up your spot. Like it is a ton of admin work. And I think when you're trading your time for money, which most trainers do at the beginning, adding on that admin work makes it very long hours for not a ton of return. And so I think that's a huge area for improvement for many trainers, is just making systems that are efficient and allow you to scale or get some of your time back. So would love to hear more about what systems you have in place.
I think number one to start out is just scheduling. I think that's where most people spend the most amount of time going back and forth with parents and all this stuff. And obviously you're still going to have to a certain degree. Hey, they can't figure out how to schedule this. They got to move this session around. Maybe they have to reach out to you. You're still going to get that. But I would say I save maybe 10 hours a week or 10 hours a month at least. And just in terms of scheduling, going back and forth with parents, taking calls. And I still do that, obviously. But just having that system in place is going to save you a lot more time and a lot more stress. And essentially, the biggest key to doing stuff like that is to allow you to refocus your time on other higher, more productive tasks. So, yeah, you could be texting a parent, trying to schedule, and hey, chasing this payment, chasing that. Or you could worry about improving your actual product, your training, getting more knowledgeable, or just spending more time on the actual marketing piece of things. So I would say the biggest thing that most trainers have to add as early as you possibly can is that scheduling software and the ability to have people do that online without you needing to be present, taking payments online, all that kind of stuff. It's going to save you not only time, but also just mental energy. Like me and you both know, like when we were starting out, Johnny didn't pay me for that session. I have to remember to text him. And
that's
like
the worst.
All that mental energy is way worse than the time.
Yes.
So I would think people got to do that as early as they possibly can. And sometimes they're like, I don't want to pay for the software or anything like that. It's like, dude, they're just thinking very, very small and very short term, as opposed to, hey, okay, maybe the first month I don't technically make my money back on that investment, but the amount of mental energy and time that you gain back is going to help you tenfold over the long term. And it's just going to make you look more professional, as opposed to, hey, can you Venmo me, or hey, take cash, check, whatever. Like, you're going to look more professional. It's going to save you time. It's going to save you stress. Just do it as early as you possibly can and then go from there.
Hey, I just want to take a quick break. My name's Russell. I'm one of the founders of Coach IQ. We put on this podcast here. Our goal is to interview top coaches and business owners in the youth sports space across the United States and give you guys insight on the ground floor. How are they running their business? What do they think about the current ecosystem? And what are their thoughts on where things are going? So we're super excited to bring this to you guys. If you don't know about us, we are an all-in-one sports management platform. We run a lot of the businesses that we have on the podcast. And we're fortunate enough now to work with about 1,000 sports coaches across the United States. And it's our goal to make your life as easy as possible in running the business itself. Website, scheduling, payment management, everything handled seamlessly on our platform. And really what separates us is we are built specifically for sports. We're not powering nail salons. We're not powering Pilates studios. Every second of the day, we focus on you. So if that's something you need, where you're looking to get your time back, or you're looking to actually grow your business, Coach IQ is really the only platform thinking about you every single day, interviewing and working with the top coaches in the industry, specific to sports. So if that's something we can help you with, we would love to connect with you. You can visit our website, coachiq.com, schedule a free demo there. The demos are awesome. It's really less about selling and much more about just walking through what we've learned and providing value on what other coaches are doing. And if it's a match, it's a match. So absolute no-brainer. Go schedule a demo, totally worth the time. And thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for customers who are working with us. It allows us to do all this, make better product. And the main goal, help athletes all across the United States and the world get a phenomenal experience from you guys, the coaches.
There's also something we could talk about is like the shift of doing pricing per session versus a longer term commitment. And parents, if parents are paying, or players, even if they're paying, if you have them locked down for a longer term commitment where, say, maybe they're paying for a month up front or 2 months, 3 months, they only have to make the decision to pay one time. Whereas if you're charging per session, they have to continually decide and go through that decision fatigue. And I think in the end, they either don't show up as much, or it's just so much more admin on your side and more tension from their side. Like they're having to decide whether they want to train, pay, and then show up and get there, versus doing it once and then you know the schedule, you show up and you just commit to the work, which is ultimately why we got into this, is because we want to help players get better. So not only is it better for the trainer, it's way better for the parents and the players because they're getting more out of the game.
100%. I think decreasing that friction as much as you can is the best thing you can do. It's like you have to take the perspective of all these parents, like especially if they have multiple kids. They have a lot of things going around. If they have to say, they might not even have time to go and pay for the session. But if they can be like, hey, just go to the session, you're all set, you already paid for it. That's a lot easier than, okay, now I got to go online, I got to go to the website, I have to pay, and then you can, like, they're just going to be like, fuck it, I don't really care, I don't want to do that. So eliminating as much friction as you possibly can from the parents' point of view is going to make you, I think, a lot more money in the long run. Simply just by adding those memberships, or especially when you can make it automatic, where it's like, hey, you sign up once, and it's just going to keep recurring every single month, and then they just keep showing up every single month.
Yeah.
And it's also, like, talking about friction, it's more annoying for them to probably cancel that membership than to just have their kid keep going. So they're just going to be like, whatever, just keep going, just keep going. So it's like, eliminate as much friction as you can and think from the parents' perspective as well. I think is going to help a lot of trainers.
Can you also talk about group versus individual training? And would love to dive into philosophy here. We can. I think both of we already know we share a lot of similar philosophies on like the theory of training. So feel free to talk more about that and the benefits of group versus individual. But if you could tie in the business side of it as well, I think that would be valuable for a lot of listeners.
So I think group is obviously a lot more beneficial for players and is more beneficial for the business owner. So I think a lot more trainers should be doing that for a lot of different reasons. When you're doing individuals, you're strictly trading time for money, and it's a set amount. So you're not going to make a lot more money, or you're not going to make less money. You're going to make the same amount of money every single time. So in terms of growing, the only constraint for you in terms of that is more time. The only way for you to make more money is to spend more time working, which is okay to some degree in some instances. But if you really want to scale and make more money, groups are going to be the best way to go. Because say you charge $100 for an individual, or you can charge, say, $40 per kid per group. So you can have 8 kids in that group session, you're making more than twice as much money per hour. And obviously, if you stretch that across 10, 20, 30, 40 hours a week, you're making way more money, right? So from an economics perspective, it makes way more sense to do groups. You're able to also help more people, which is every trainer's goal, is to help more players. And like we talked about briefly, it's more beneficial for the actual player. So in terms of scaling, groups is going to be the best way to do it. You're going to spend less time training and you're going to make more money. And then you can obviously mix in some individuals here and there, which is what I'm able to do just because I have a gym. Like I was talking to someone else where they were like, hey, I don't do any individuals, because for them it doesn't make sense because they have to go and rent that gym.
Right.
So if you have to pay $50 an hour to rent the gym, it doesn't really make sense to charge $100 an hour for an individual because you're only making $50. Like it can be worth it for some people, but when you have a gym also, it's like, hey, that gym's already paid for. Any money that comes in is your money essentially. So it can make sense to do it individual because you're essentially taking that full amount. So I think also in terms of groups, especially if you're renting a gym, it just makes the most sense. Like 1 kid or 2 kids can pay for your gym fee or the court rental, and then anyone after that is just pure profit. Versus if you're doing an individual, you're severely limited to your profit margin. Your profit margin is going to be a lot smaller. So
totally. This is a topic I'm super passionate about because it's one, better for the player. They will get more out of the training, and once they get back in that game setting, they're going to improve their performance. So they're going to come back to you being like, hey, this stuff is really working. They're going to make greater strides. And then one of the best ways to market, which segues into our next question, is just the referral. So if you have all these players coming to your group sessions, they're getting way better than if they would be just doing individuals. Then you're spraying out 8, 10, 12 people to different gyms, different teams, and everyone's starting to notice, hey, those are the ones that are getting better. Where are they going? Then they each bring 2. Then you're going from 12 to it's going to get exponentially greater. So how do you typically go about the customer acquisition process, getting more people into the gym? And if you could do a little bit of a timeline on this one as well, so we can talk about the different stages, and trainers from all different starting points can relate to it. So from first few years, how'd you do it, and now what's your most successful ways of getting more people into the gym?
So when I first started, didn't even really think too much about it. Like I was just like, hey, I'm just gonna have a really good product, do a really good job, get people a lot better, and they're gonna talk about it. That works, but obviously now I've realized, hey, there's a lot more systematic ways to do the exact same thing and speed up that process tenfold. So one of the ways, like you were talking about, is referrals, but not just waiting for them to come. Try to be a little bit more proactive about it. Like, hey, the biggest and best time to do this is when you do see serious improvement in a player. So say you're working with someone, 2-3 months in, they see a big jump in their game, they have a lot of success. Hey, is there anyone that, you would refer to us that you play with or whatever that would love this training? That's one way to do it. Another way is you can run events or things where it's like, hey, bring a friend for free. So anyone that you train, bring a friend along. They can come to a group for free. They can try it out. First session's free. And then, okay, you can start to grow from there. Also, another way you could do is outreach. So this is another thing that I did here and there in the beginning, but I just wasn't thinking about. It's just simply reaching out to other coaches, reaching out to players. This is something we implemented when I had the second facility, is simply seeing who players that you train follow, reaching out to them. Hey, notice you play with so-and-so. You're on this team. Looks like you're a great player. Looks like you're serious. Why don't you come and try a free session? You could do that. You could do the same thing with coaches. JV coach, varsity coach. Hey, we'd love to come and run a free workout for your team. 20 kids, 30 kids. You're getting a lot of exposure to a lot of new kids. You're providing value to the coach. It's a win-win relationship. Okay, now you just got a whole bunch of new leads. And then obviously you could do paid advertising. So that could be Google ads, that could be Facebook ads, Instagram ads, all that kind of stuff. But just kind of mixing and matching and doing as many as you possibly can all at the same time. That's the way that we tend to do it. It all kind of depends on the season, the time of the year, all that kind of stuff. But it's a lot of outreach. It's a lot of referrals. It's a lot of promotions. It's a lot of Google ads, all that kind of stuff mixed together, I think is the best recipe. But you just have to be systematic about it. Like I was saying, I think at the beginning, I was just like, hey, they'll show up, it can work, but it's just not a good way to build an actual business.
I hope everybody that's listening to this can appreciate the value you just dropped. I think you gave us like 6 different ways to legitimately start a very profitable business, but it does take some action. But if you love basketball and you're good at connecting with people and you have a desire to help people and you just start training a bunch of people, like eventually you're going to get better at training people and people are going to want to come to you. And I think it's a space that's only growing. So that was a great knowledge bomb for everybody. I hope that inspires at least one other person to start up a business, because it's a great business to be in.
At the beginning, just another quick point is a lot of people, I think, try to make money too early, this is something I tell all trainers, especially in the beginning. Though your number one goal is to get better as a trainer, to deliver a good product. If you're charging $100 an hour right off the bat, the amount of sessions that you're going to be doing is going to be like 3, 4, 5, maybe a week.
Yep.
So the amount of reps that you're getting as a trainer is extremely low. The biggest thing that I did that I think really helped me is I just essentially started at 0. I want to train as many people as I possibly can, as fast as I can. And then I want to speed up that feedback loop. Okay, review the session. What did I do good? What did I do bad? How can I improve? Okay, boom, implement that into the next session. And when you can have, say, 100 sessions a month, doing that, you're going to get a lot better, a lot faster. So your feedback loop in terms of how fast you can improve as a trainer is going to be a lot faster than somebody who's just trying to make money, especially right off the bat. And then as you start to grow, people start to see results, as that demand starts to increase, okay, then you can start to increase the price slowly. But I think a lot of people try to do the opposite, so they don't actually get good at training, so they just stay average, so they have to charge average prices with average demand, and it just doesn't work.
I want to echo that. I was the same way. I started training because in New Hampshire, there just weren't any other people around. So I would just recruit people and tell them I'd train them, but I was just trying to get work in myself. But it was so many reps at the beginning. And that without a doubt was a better experience than anything I could have read, any course I could have taken, anything to improve my skills. But with that, there are a ton of things out there that I believe trainers can benefit from. And you have a bunch of things as well in that regard. So if you could talk about some of the resources you found most helpful, whether that's books, podcasts, courses that you feel like trainers can go to level up as a trainer or as a business person.
So I think like you said, there's no replacing experience. And then I think from there, it's getting into the science of learning, which when I first started, I was like, why is nobody talking about this? Like, our whole goal as trainers is to help people learn. Nobody's talking about the science of learning. This was like 5-6 years ago. So I just started to diving into that. I think Trevor Reagan was one of the first resources that I started to dive into. Then I started getting into a lot of books on constraints-led approach. I just reread another book the other day. I think it's The Science of Rapid Skill Acquisition. It's a very simple book, but it's a good book. And then getting into the ecological dynamics, really just reading as many books as you possibly can. When you can get that practical knowledge with the actual experience and you can combine the two and you can start to analyze, okay, how am I using this knowledge in the actual sessions and how can I kind of bridge the gap most effectively as possible? I think that's how you're going to become a much more effective trainer. So that's kind of how I just started to, one thing led to another. You know, you read one book, oh wow, I'm interested in that. I don't really know anything. Okay, let me read this book. And like you'll notice a lot of books that you read, they're going to reference other books. So it's like, okay, I'm just go order that book. I think another really good book is The Language of Coaching. That's one of the best books that I've ever read. I think a lot of coaches, especially the ones that even understand skill acquisition, they don't understand how their language affects the skill acquisition. So I think that that's a good book that kind of ties the two together. But I think it's just A, get as much experience, B, get as much knowledge, combine the two together, and you're going to be a lot better as a trainer. And then just constantly keep trying to get better.
Absolutely. I like to think of the reps in the gym as the cake and then the added learning as the icing on top to make a more finished product, but you can always keep working towards it. Tyler, thank you for coming on and for sharing so much of your knowledge. I think for a lot of trainers that aspire to be in a position that you are in, will gain a lot from this. I learned a ton. And if people out there want to reach you, they want to whether work with you, train with you, learn from you, where can they find you?
Instagram at TGL Training, YouTube TGL Training, or you can email me at tyler@tgltraining.com if you're looking to train.
Amazing. Well, thanks for coming and blessing the podcast. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. It was fun.